not given up, though I think of her almost every night.
The family of murder victim Barbara Tucker gets the news they've been waiting for more than 40 years. Gresham police have arrested a suspect in the oldest cold case they've had on the books.
Mr. Wade here and Mrs. Crime. We are now out here at the cemetery in Portland, Oregon, known as the Lincoln Memorial. What brings us out here? We are here to pay respect to a grave of a female named Barbara May Tucker. Now, she was murdered years ago, early 80s, back in Gresham, Oregon. Now, the guy that did it, I will break that down soon. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't already, go ahead and click that like button. Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime is bringing you a new story. Stay tuned, a lot more.
Suspect is Robert Plimpton. He lives in Troutdale, not far from the 1980 crime scene and not far from where he grew up as a kid. So he's been around a while, at least according to police. He was just 16 years old when police think he killed Barbara Tucker, who was just a college kid walking home from class.
So as you see, it's raining like crazy out here today. So we took this drive out here to bring this story to you guys. So who was Barbara? Well, she was murdered at the age of 19. She graduated from a high school out in Gresham, Oregon, and she was attending college when this happened to her. So apparently, she was going to a night class and she was taking up some kind of accounting class. Now her major, I will post that about what's her major. But anyways, the guy that did it, at the time, he was 16 years old. Yes, 16. And she was exactly 19. So apparently, I'll take it as from my experience of doing the investigation that he stalked her. Now, from where they found her body, they said that he stayed approximately a mile from that exact location. Now, what happened was, I guess he approached her, and somehow she ended up in a forest area near the campus. Now, she was supposed to go out and hang out with some girlfriends, as I read about. But of course, that's their story about she was supposed to come with us, and we found her murdered the next day. Now, from what I read about, this youngster tried to pull her into a forest area, and I guess she got away, and she ran out into the middle of the road, and she was actually flagging people down, flagging the cars down, but people kept driving by. And then this lady said later on, after everything took place, that she remembered this girl coming out in the middle of the road trying to flag down vehicles, and there was a guy that grabbed her by her waist and drug her back into the actual forest place where he had her at, Miss Barbara. Now they found her body completely, like, her clothes were pulled down, her pants, her shirt was up over her face, and she was beaten, of course. But they're saying that she actually put up a fight due to the technology of finding out things with the skin, nails, and all that stuff. But they didn't find this on her pertaining to him. Now, what they did find was
Tucker, who was just a college kid walking home from class. Robert Plimpton is 58 years old now and charged with murder. He was arraigned Wednesday. He told the judge he didn't do it. But Gresham detectives say DNA evidence from the scene 41 years ago could finally be tested with new technology, and that DNA led them to him. Barbara Tucker was a sophomore at Mount Hood Community College in 1980. Witnesses told police they saw Tucker on Kane Drive waving down cars for help, bloody and muddy, before a man dragged her into the bushes.
Basically, as the story persists, what they did find was that she was, of course, her pants were pulled down. Now, she was raped, of course. Now, basically what happened was, this is, the guy that did it was caught in year 2021, 22. That's a long time away from 1980. So how they found her was through DNA. DNA, they found him. There was semen on a towel or shirt that was near her body that was actually covering her when they found her body. But the semen that she had inside of her did not match the semen that they ended up catching the guy that did it. Now, this is one of the old unsolved murders that Gresham had for a long time, was finally solved less than a few years ago, from the early 1980s, approximately 1980. I know I got the date up here, but it took that long with DNA evidence to find it. So back in 1980, the DNA, how they did it then, they couldn't find whoever, but it's not sure of how they found this guy through DNA. You know, they got ways, but unfortunate story of Miss Barbara Mae Tucker. And we are here to give homage to her grave and her family and friends that are still alive and probably still coming out visiting her grave. So we're going to go give respect to Miss Barbara Mae Tucker. And very sad story of a 19-year-old that had her whole life ahead of her to get her life taken by a guy that's teenager at the age of 16, and is now approximately, I think he's in his early 50s. Probably older than that, you know? But he's actually being tried for the past few years for a murder that took place that time. I'm glad they actually caught the man, but that it took so long, it's not justification, but hey, wow. Stay tuned.
Witnesses told police they saw Tucker on Kane Drive waving down cars for help, bloody and muddy, before a man dragged her into the bushes. Susie Pater says her sister even climbed onto the hood of one car.
And I know that poor woman, I don't think when she got home she made a phone call. You know, I know she has regrets, and I don't blame them, you know. I don't blame them. And people who saw her on the road that night are grateful, but they also feel a pain of why didn't I do something.
This is a headstone of Barbara Mae Tucker. It states, our beloved Barbara Mae Tucker, February 25th, 1960 to January 15th, 1980. Very unfortunate story of Mrs. Barbara Mae Tucker. All respects from Tombstone Whispers out to the friends and family of Barbara Mae Tucker. Wow. This is the headstone of Barbara Mae Tucker. This appears to be Barbara Mae Tucker's, I would say, either dad or grandpa. Loving, giving, gentle, strong, husband, daddy, poppy, and grandpa. Albert H. Tucker Sr., January 11th, 1903 to May 17th, 1989. Pooh, forever in our hearts. And this is a headstone of Mary Louise Tucker, June 28th, 1918 to July 8th, 1995. It states, forever in our hearts. This is the mother of Barbara Mae Tucker, Mary Louise Tucker. This is a headstone of Barbara Mae Tucker. It states, our beloved Barbara Mae Tucker, February 25th, 1960 to January 15th, 1980. very unfortunate story of Mrs. Barbara Mae Tucker. All respects from Tombstone Whispers out to the friends and family of Barbara Mae Tucker. Wow. This is the headstone of Barbara Mae Tucker.
Very hard, that somehow they didn't slip or come out of his mouth, that, that somebody might have done something, that he was able to carry on with his life. And after taking another, just shock. Everybody's shocked and happy at the same time. I was just totally taken aback. It was amazing. It was really good news.
Now, a very unfortunate story for Miss Barbara Mae Tucker. To have her promising life ahead of her, and this young teenager, the age of 16, decides to come over and abduct her, rape her, and murder her, of course, and leave her body there and lived a mile away from the crime scene, murder scene. Very sad story for Miss Barbara Tucker. Wow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this unfortunate story of Miss Barbara Tucker. As you know, we go out of our way to bring you the story. I'm Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime. Once again, we bring it to you. Stay tuned for a lot more from Tombstone Whispers.